All right. So if you know me, you know I have a tendency to get a little goofy on the YouTube thing.
I ain't gonna quit! Hold these alligators down!
Okay. Really goofy on the YouTube thing. But I'm working on my serious side because I actually have something that's very serious to share with you. Something I've been working on for about 12 years. Something that's amazing. Something that's important. Something that's awesome. Insert your favorite adjective. And that is, I just finished my very first novel, Waiting on Heaven's Doorstep.
Available on Amazon.com for the low price of $19.99.
Okay, sorry. I'm working on it. I really am, because for reals, this is a very personal project for me, especially given the journey it took to get to this point. If we want to get to the start, probably got to go back to the year 2000. Yes, that year 2000. So it's Easter Sunday, and my dad gets an unexpected call from family back in Virginia.
The doctors say Grandpa's only got 24 hours to live.
So my dad's scrambling all night to get tickets from Washington State to Virginia. Back then, it wasn't so easy to get tickets, and he can only take one of us. So he picks me. The next day, we fly out. After a long day of traveling, we go back to my Uncle Neil's house, which was the house my dad grew up in. And all right, we're good. Wake up the next day, chilling on the couch, watch some cartoons, whatever. In comes my Uncle John. And man, Uncle John, for watching this, I love you. You're a good guy. But man, did you break my heart that day. In comes Uncle John. First thing he says to me, "Sorry about your dog, Zach."
What?
Oh, yeah, man. I remember when my dog died, I didn't get over it for weeks. Then my dad walks in the room, stone face, and he looks to him and says,
John, I didn't tell him about the dog yet.
and that news tore me up. Still to this day, I've never cried harder than I did the day I found out Sparky passed away. And I cried for weeks after that. It took me a long time to get over it, but, with enough time and pizza,
Great equalizer.
I finally recover. And so some more time goes by, and as a family, we decide, I think it's time to get another dog. Luckily, we had a family friend whose dog was having a litter of pups. And that's when we picked up Maggie. And Maggie was such a fun dog to have. Just a ball of energy, always happy to see you. Liked to run off to the golf course a lot.
And I had to chase her a lot.
But regardless, she was like the perfect dog for my family at that time. So fast forward 12 years. It's around Easter time. I'm grown, but I'm coming home to see my folks. And as I pull into the driveway, there's Maggie laying on the doorstep. And there's old dogs, and then there's dogs on the verge of death.
And the moment I saw her, I knew her time was coming to an end.
So I took a few moments, and just me and her. I sat down, and as I shed a tear,
All I could think about was the golf course.
just the amount of freedom and joy she had running along, and then just the devastation I was feeling at that moment, knowing she would never have that feeling ever again. And so, remember, I talked to God that day, and I wouldn't call it a prayer because I wasn't worthy of the prayer I was asking for. But I would call it a lament. I just talked to God. I just wished she had that one last chance to be a dog.
One last chance to run like she used to on the golf course before we had to say goodbye.
And how do you say goodbye? Which is a big question I pose in the book. I mean, do we wait it out and let them suffer? Do we put them down? Do we actually go out in the woods and do it old Yeller style?
Which is no joke, a recommendation somebody gave to me, which no judgment because, believe me, it was on my mind as well.
And with such a conglomerate of emotions and questions and events that were taking place, I just needed a way to process it all. So I did what any rational guy would do in a situation like this. I popped in some Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and went on a 6-mile run. Dark Side of the Moon, Dark Side of the Moon, Dark Side of the Moon. Dark Side of the Moon.
Whoa.
It was like each song on that album represented a different emotion I was feeling. I was confused. I was scared. I was sad. Then I became angry. And that anger turned to fury, to like the point where I ran so hard I almost barfed my brains out. But as I came down from it, there was eventually some resolve. And unbeknownst to me at the time, that album and that sequence of events and the processing of grief and all those emotions, it became the foundation to what my story would become. Something I wouldn't fully realize until a few weeks later when me and my dad are back in Virginia to celebrate my Uncle CB's 60th birthday. And while we're at my Uncle Neil's house, suddenly my dad gets another call. And it's from my mom, who's at this moment just an absolute wreck. And we're trying to figure out what's going on. And she says to my dad,
Maggie just had a seizure, and she took off running, and I haven't been able to find her since.
So eventually somebody in the neighborhood did find her under a rose bush, where she looked to have passed away in peace. And I never told anybody about this at the time, but all I could think about upon hearing that news was the conversation I had with God and how this just couldn't be a coincidence, this sequence of events. And I felt just compelled to capture it in some way.
So I started writing.
At first, I had no idea this was going to become a novel, which is probably why, in all honesty, it took so long for me to write this thing. But at the same time, there was a lot of growth I needed to go through in my life in order to tell the story the right way. But looking back from then to now and all the changes I went through, I mean, I'm married, I have kids, I got to live in a few different countries.
We went through that stupid pandemic, or rather forget about.
Oh my God.
Seriously, 2020 was the worst.
But during that time and through those hardships, it led me to do something I should have done a long time ago. I read the Bible cover to cover. And through that experience and ultimately understanding the sacrifice Jesus made on the cross, for the first time in my life, I actually understood the true meaning of love, which is essentially what this book is about. It's a story of a young man who, through this despairing event, goes on this physical, emotional, and spiritual journey. And through it all, he rediscovers the true meaning of love and the power it has to overcome death. And to learn that lesson, he has to hit rock bottom and climb his way back out into the light. So if you're somebody who's ever gone through an experience like this and knows how painful it is to lose a loved one, I think this book will remind you that you're not alone in those feelings. If you're somebody who feels like they're stuck in life, I think this can give you hope in climbing out of that valley. And if you're somebody who just simply enjoys good fiction, I mean, I think you really enjoyed this because it's something that speaks to a lot of the struggles that my generation has gone through. And so if any of those resonate with you, or you just want to simply support me, you can purchase a copy of this on Amazon.com. There's a link in the description below. I would love for your support. I would love for you to share this with friends and family. And if you're up for it, leave a review on Amazon. Because believe it or not, reviews are probably one of the biggest things that help indie authors like myself grow, get exposure, and simply get our message out to the rest of the world. So if you're willing to do that,
Much love to you.
So before I go, I just want to say thank you guys for sticking with me through this whole thing. And thanks to everybody who's helped me get to this point. I know there's so many thank yous to go around that I'm probably going to have to do an entirely separate video just to get through all of them. But I do want to mention that I plan on making more content like this in the future. So if you have any questions about writing or the writing process, just please leave a comment below. I'd love to answer them. I'd love to cover them. And I'd love to spread my knowledge and what I know about the writing process so it doesn't take 12 years to write your book. Waiting on Heaven's Doorstep, available on Amazon.com. And be on the lookout for more announcements coming your way as it pertains to my company. Thank you, and God bless.